And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. Hello and welcome everybody to a new video from YHWH Hour of the Truth, today for the 70th part of the study, Yea, hath God said. The 70th, and I can tell you, if it continues the way that I have planned, quote unquote planned, because I don't plan these things, we will in the future even reach number 700, because this is going to be a huge study. It's going to be a lifetime study. It's going to be something that after we got our justification in Christ through faith, that will be helping our sanctification, because I agree with Tom Friess when he said justification happens in an instant, but sanctification is a lifelong progress, because you always get changed and you get closer to Christ and closer to Christ. And I think that everybody who has been a Christian for some years can occur that he says or she says, yeah, in the beginning, I did not know what I know now, because I grew in my studies. We are just like Christ. Christ also grew in wisdom in the studies in the Bible. It is mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew, as I'm not mistaken, that it says there that he was growing, and he was also growing in wisdom and in the knowledge of the Bible. And that's the same with us. And of course, we measure everything here in the world against the Bible. And when I say we, I mean me, myself, and I mean, of course, my brother Robert, who is with me today in this wonderful session that we are doing again together to speak of his book. There's a picture already of him, and you will hear him in a moment. The 70th part of the study, and we have just started to go into his book, and it is very important that you understand that Robert and I really have the Bible, the King James Bible in that regard, as our absolutely standard for moral and faith, and that we measure everything in this world against the Bible as far as that is possible. And we keep the good and we throw out the bad, like everybody should do, like good Bereans, let's say. Like when you read Acts chapter 17, you know that the Bereans were better Jews than the one at Thessalonica, because they read daily in the scriptures and checked everything if it was so. That's what we are doing. Also with this study, it is not because Rob wrote a book that is completely faultless. I mean, it is faultless as far as I know. It is faultless as much as he knows. But Robert and I, we don't know everything. We can be mistaken. And then we'd like to hear it. And as I said in the beginning of another introduction, if you watch this video and you hear something that you do not agree with, then please write down the timestamp and put that in the comment and comment on that, and we will get back to you. We are not perfect, and we never said we were, and we will never say that we will be. But today we are going into this wonderful study. And before I introduce to Robert, I want to introduce to you a part of the book that we haven't spoken about. It's Robert pointed me on that. It is the back cover of his book. So I'm going to read this, and then afterwards Robert will take over. So we have this book here. Oops, sorry, wrong picture. It was this one, and I need this one here. And it says on the back cover of the book, A House Built on Sand, nearly 2,000 years ago, Christ warned that false teachers would enter into the church to deceive even the very elect. When Rome realized that the rise of Christianity could not be stopped, it exchanged the laurel wreath of the Caesars for the papal tiara and took control of the movement that threatened its very survival. The paganism of imperial Rome was given a quote-unquote Christian makeover to create an quote-unquote image that caused the whole world to worship the beast. This book charts that great deception and shows how the Christian church of today has become a house built on sand. And I'm not taking too much of a secret away when I say not only the Christian church of today, but especially the quote-unquote Christian church, the church that calls itself Christian and that is as Christian as fire is ice. Welcome to the broadcast, Robert.
Hello, Jörg. Thank you for having me here again. And I'm looking forward to getting into this study tonight. I think we're starting off with the introduction to the book.
Yes.
Um, so, yes, so that will be good. And the introduction I've titled The Beginning of Sorrows, which is something Jesus spoke of in what's become known as the Olivet Discourse, which is recorded in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And it talks about a time when Jesus and the disciples were at the temple, and they left the temple to go and sit on the Mount of Olives. And when they're looking across at the temple, Jesus tells them of the coming destruction of the temple, telling them that not one stone will be left standing upon another. And obviously the disciples were quite concerned about this, and they questioned Jesus further, asking him about when this time will be, and how the end of the world will come about, and the signs of his coming. And Jesus goes on to give a broad overview of the times that will be coming in the future, that will lead up to the end times. And he's giving them warnings of what to expect and what to look out for to get them prepared really for what lies ahead. And this introduction pretty much is doing the same thing. It's talking about the times we're living in now and the deceptions that we've faced, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, and the many deceptions that are coming fairly soon. And it's just a matter of preparing for those times and to show how important it is to be grounded in the faith and to follow true doctrine rather than the many false doctrines that have entered into the church. And obviously we'll be talking about that a lot later as the chapters go on. And the second half of the book deals a lot with the end times as well. So yeah, we can get started, Jörg. I can pass it back to you and we can get reading the introduction.
Yeah. Wonderfully. Let's just start with that then.
Okay.
I'm going to put the picture of the book here as long as I'm reading, and whenever you pop up, I put your picture back on there so that viewers know that you are talking when your picture is in the picture on the screen here. Okay. So, the introduction, the beginning of sorrows. Along with the rest of the world, I entered 2020 with a sense of foreboding, not because of a deadly pandemic, as most people feared, but because there wasn't one. Within a few short days, it became obvious there was something seriously wrong with the official story regarding the quote-unquote virus. And by the way, virus is a Latin word that means poison. And in the weeks that followed, I became convinced that the whole thing was a huge deception. Draconian measures were rolled out worldwide as our governments worked together to create a false sense of fear from an invisible threat to gain total control over every aspect of our lives. Vaccines were apparently developed in record time and were rolled out under emergency use authorization, which meant that proper evaluation of the long-term effects would not take place, and the manufacturers would not be liable for any damage caused. Despite this, the mantra went out that they were quote-unquote safe and effective, unless you were one of the tens if not hundreds of thousands who died, of the millions who were adversely affected by these experimental mRNA gene therapies that were falsely labeled as vaccines. The fact that the world leaders were willing to perpetrate this unprecedented crime upon their own people marked a turning point in Earth's history. Many hints have been dropped that there will be another, far more deadly pandemic, possibly an avian flu, which would also have a huge impact on food supplies, removing poultry and eggs from our diet, thereby destroying a major source of protein. Now, I want to make a little pause here at the end of this sentence, Robert, if that's okay with you.
It is, and I thought you might.
I have to look something up on my BitChute channel. I have a German and an English BitChute channel. This is my German BitChute channel, and I have a video here that is called "The Jesuit General Speaks the Truth About COVID-19 Agenda." without taking any secrets to this. So there's a document in that, but that's in German. I would just want to see if I have the English video here, because that's the original, of course. And I normally put this in the video description, the original video. I can here it is. Here's the original video. So this is the original video of Arturo Sosa speaking of this. Would you like to watch that together with me right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, here it comes.
This is the mission which Pope Francis gave us when he confirmed the universal apostolic preferences. These were the fruit of a spirit-led discernment by the universal apostolic body. Illuminated by them, we put into practice the mission of reconciliation and justice to which the 36th General Congregation invites us. The crisis is showing us that we are one humanity. Every human being, every people, each culture is part of this one varied, rich, and interdependent humanity. It is showing us that there is no difference in age, race, religion, or social status when we are one humanity. Starting by putting what we are ourselves want in a second place and accepting the measures and sacrifices that allow us to contribute to the good of all. God is a tricky word because of which God are we talking about? No, I have several gods in our word. So, if we are talking about the God of Jesus Christ or the God that Jesus Christ revealed us, so we have to see Jesus Christ. And how is the most profound and deep image of God that Jesus gives us? The cross. Jesus in cross. Jesus given His life for the life of us. There is God. If we are able to really contemplate and get touched by the contemplation of Jesus in cross, we will find the crucified people today. The crucified of this moment of the pandemic and the injustice of the world. And we will find God. God is there. God is asking us to do something, to give our life so that people can have life.
We have suggestions to help us turn this crisis into permanent, not temporary and reactionary changes.
Really don't forget that this is not also an accident. It's not an accident, the COVID-19. It's the fruit of a way of how human beings has understand and have made their own relationship. And it's a confirmation of our mission to collaborate, to contribute in the change of this world. And I think we can show the people through reflecting about the COVID-19, the fragility of the world we have created, no? and how we need really to get together so we can go in another way. I don't think so that after the crisis things are going to change like this. No? There are so many interests behind this and so many, we are so used to the West, we are dreaming to come back to our normality. No? We are dreaming to just live as we were before the virus came to our life. But that's the great temptation. So to take an opportunity of this crisis is to be aware that something has to change, because really we are in a very fragile structure of human relationship and life. So don't forget this crisis. Not just, okay, that was a bad night, a nightmare. No, and we are awake again, and we are again in our life as before. No, we have to take the lesson that if we don't change after this, the next one will be worse.
So, what do you say, Robert?
Well, perfect video, obviously, for what we've just been talking about. And so many things stood out, really. I think the first one was where he accidentally told the truth. And he said, are we talking about the God of Jesus Christ? So I thought that was quite amusing that he stated that. But
He said
really
there
showed
are many gods in this world.
He did.
That's a Jesuit.
Yeah,
I mean, he is the leader of the military arm of the Roman Catholic Church, for crying out loud. And he has devoted his order, okay, not he, but Loyola, who started it, they have devoted their order to Mary, the Mother of God. And then he says there are different gods in all religions. So he even puts Christianity, because he teaches, of course, in the Roman Catholic Church, the Trinity with 3 gods. He puts all the different religions there together. It says, in other words, that's what he said, that's how I understand. This is what we all have in common. We worship different gods, but actually we are all worshipping the same, because we have all different gods. And those different gods are actually one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the Trinity deception, yeah? That they are of the same substance and one God, but 3 persons, and all this childish deception that you have there, that no one with 2 working brain cells can believe if he is really true to himself. That's what I think about it in the meantime now. I think this video was very revealing, and in the end he says that this was, first and for all, he says this was not an accident, and second of all, he says there's gonna be another one. So he says there's gonna be another one. What did you write here in this book? You said the fact that the world leaders were willing to perpetrate this unprecedented crime upon their own people marked a turning point in Earth's history. Many hints have been dropped that there will be another far more deadly pandemic. So you write in this book, and you didn't know the video, right?
Oh, no, I didn't know.
I surprised you with that, right?
You did, yes, yeah. I mean, this introduction was written about 3 years ago, so you know,
I don't know how old is that video. Just a second. Know. Yeah, I have to look it up. I can't see that normally. How old that video is? 5 years ago.
Oh, that was 5 years ago.
So we are now 2026, so it must be 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Oh, well,
but no, Bill Gates.
This one. No, this one. This one here. This one is a video here. I don't know if there's a date on here. This I don't know what this is. Leader of the Jesuits talks COVID. Where does that come from? I opened that one. That was the one we just saw. Yeah. So this is the original video that we just saw, and this is my German video. I don't know when this is made published. I have to look it up in. Maybe if I have it on some paper, but it will be about 5 years ago or something. I was even on Reddit at that time, that I'm not anymore. I was thrown out there. I don't know why. So when this English video came out, I made that German video that we just just took the link of, because this video here that you see, this is mine. That's in German. Yeah, I translated all that into German. Yeah, and this is one of my most watched videos on BitChute. 3,365 times.
Right.
Anyway, so that was this video 5 years ago. So it was 2021. Let's say that was at the end of the quote-unquote pandemic. Yeah.
Right.
And then he already came out and said, there's going to be another one. And you put
Right.
that in your book, and you wrote your book in 2023, 2024, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was based on sort of notes that I'd made, going back to sort of, around about 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I did some studies, and obviously it wasn't until I met you guys that you suggested putting it into a book. And, that's when it was all put together. All the studies were sort of cleaned up and put together in the form of a book, and more studies done as well to complete it. So yeah, I mean, as far as this, the fact that it was planned goes as well. Do you remember Bill Gates when he was talking with his wife and they were both grinning to each other,
Sure.
saying the next one's going to be worse, or they'll pay attention when the next one comes?
Yeah.
And then they have a big grin across their faces, like they know exactly what's coming. So yeah, without doubt, all these things were planned. They knew well in advance what they were going to do, and yeah, it's been terrible, but it's obviously the start of what's going to happen in the lead up to this 2030.
I think there's one important point that we should not oversee here, Robert. We are not talking about conspiracy theories. We are speaking about the general of the Society of Jesus. To Christians, real Christians know that he is the most powerful man in the world. And he says there will be another one. And it's coming right out of his mouth. And it is not AI made, because some years ago when that video was made, nobody spoke about AI. I'm not saying that it wasn't there, but that video is something that you can probably find on many, many places. It is not an artificial, it is an original video, and Arturo Sosa speaks of that and says there will be another one.
Yes.
This is not conspiracy theory, folks. This is so important. This is what makes the difference from Hour of the Truth with a lot of other channels. I don't speak about conspiracy theories. I speak about true conspiracies. And I speak about conspiracies that are measurable at the Bible, because we know what and who the Roman Catholic Church is and the people in the Roman Catholic Church. And we are speaking of that, of course, abundantly during the study of this book. I'm sure that there will be covered very widely. But why do I say that the Jesuit general is the most powerful man in the world and not the Antichrist, the white pope, because he is called the black pope? I say that because of the First Vatican Council that took place in 1870. And after that council, the Jesuits finally had officially what they ever wanted from the very beginning. Now, let me tell you something, maybe going a little bit back into history. I don't know if this is familiar with you, Robert. Otherwise, if you have questions, just ask me. It was in 1542/1543, 2 or 3 years after the recognition of the Jesuit order by Pope Paul III, that same Pope issued a bull that was called Injunctum Nobis. And in that bull, Injunctum Nobis, that I discussed during the reading of the Griesinger book of the history of the Jesuits in German, I even looked the papal bull up. In that bull, the Jesuits are given carte blanche, means the Jesuit general has the power at any time he wishes to change the constitutions of the Society of Jesus without even the Pope, the white Pope, knowing him, or interfering, or asking his approval. Without even that, he can change the constitution of the Jesuits. And of course, you first have to learn what is the constitution of the Jesuits, what's written in there, what is the Secreta Monita, means the secret instructions of the Jesuits, and what is their spiritual exercises stuff that came a little bit in the video. They were talking about that. You mix that all together, and then you see that the Jesuit general at that time already was a very powerful man. He stood over the Pope. But that was in church hierarchy terms. Now in 1870, at the very first Vatican Council, the Pope was made infallible. That was Pope Pius IX, who reigned between 1632 and 1678 or something. 40 something, and he is the Pope with the longest pontificate. And in 1870, in the First Lateran Council, the Pope was made by doctrine of unchangeable doctrine of the Roman Catholic canon law and the Roman Catholic Church infallible when he speaks of morals and faith from his throne, ex cathedra, as they call it. Since the Jesuits control the White Pope, who is actually infallible, Robert?
They are the Black Pope.
The Black Pope. And he just told you that there will be another one. And that's why I say he is the most powerful man in the world. And everything that I can say, that I just said, we can go into detail maybe later on in the study if it comes on. It's okay for me. I studied that very deeply the last years, and Robert knows that because he knows me from my studies with Tom, and he knows what we did in the time. And he knows that I'm not lightly telling something that is unproven and that is not true. That is absolutely the truth. So this most powerful man of the world just confirmed what Robert wrote in his book when that book was up. Where is the page now? Here. That Robert wrote, and the book that is out right now. If maybe you did not have that big of an interest to follow this reading, I suggest you rethink your interest of joining us in the reading and in the study of this book. Robert, any thoughts on this?
Not really. The only thing I'd add as well is also the head of the COVID information in America at the time was also Jesuit trained,
Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Yeah,
that we've heard about. And if you remember, he got an award from the Vatican. I think it was one of their highest awards for everything he did during COVID. And when he was actually vaccinated on TV, they asked him how he was feeling afterwards, and he held the wrong arm and said, "Oh yeah, it's still hurting a bit." And he held the wrong arm. So it was just all, and there were so many people that you saw, celebrities and people and politicians, that they looked like they were having the vaccine. I think Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, I think when he had his vaccine, they zoomed in on the picture and the cap was still on the needle. So there were so many deceptions going on at that time. It was it was a shocking time to be alive and to witness all those things when you were awake to what was really going on.
Yeah, Fauci got many prizes and awards and medals and everything, of course, from the Roman Catholic Church. And Fauci never made a secret about it, that his training by the Jesuits gave him the possibility to act as he did during the crisis.
Yeah.
And he said that I owe it to my Jesuit education that I am today what I am and that I can do what I am doing now. And anyway, if anybody ever wants to read something or watch something very interesting and you have a lot of time, there is a video out that I have on my archive page. That video is about 9 hours long. It's really time. By the way, here's the text of the General Jesuit that we just heard in German. Here is Stanley Plotkin. This is the video. This is the text because I put up both. There's a video out that I have, and I think I put it on archive. Let's just load that a little bit, and let's see if it's here. I've just opened this other link now. I don't know. I don't see it right now here, and I don't want to spend that much time. If I find it, I can give you the link. But this is Stanley Plotkin. This is the document, verbatim, what was said in that question when Stanley Plotkin was asked on vaccines. It says here, aborted fetal tissues are used in vaccines. Vaccines have been experimentally tested on orphans and on mental handicapped children. Experimental tests on babies from mothers in prisons. Experimental tests on 1 million people in the then colonial Belgian Congo. There is so much information in this shocking video. Dr. Stanley Plotkin, an American physician, aka godfather of vaccines, has contributed to the development of several vaccines during his long career, namely those for rubella, rabies, rotavirus, varicella, anthrax, and cytomegalovirus, CMV. In this deposition, he admits that 76 took place in just a single study during the development of these vaccines. He confirms in his statement that these experiments involved tissues taken from pituitary gland, lungs, skin, kidney, spleen, heart, and other body parts of these healthy babies who were aborted at 3+ months gestation. The final product, the vaccine, contains DNA fragments from this tissue that cannot be filtered out. It is not yet agreed upon whether injecting these foreign human DNA fragments could have unintended consequences, but research conducted by the Sound Choice Pharmaceutical Institute suggests that it can and does. The video can be found here. That's it. I didn't upload it on Archive. I uploaded it on my BitChute channel. That is my English BitChute. We just watched the German one. And here you have it. And it is 9 hours long. And you can read along because he is questioned here. It is an interview. It is not an interview. It is a question, a hearing. Yeah, and he gives this hearing under oath. 9 hours, as you can see. And what I only shame on sand on my hand, ash on my head. Or how do they say that? Ash on my head. Ash over my head. Is that how they say that, Robert?
I don't really know that expression yet, to be honest with you.
Anyway, the Americans know that because Tom said that also. I only watched 7 and something hours up yet. I haven't watched it all yet. But I watched it and had the text next to it. And that's interesting because, of course, here's the text. You can download the PDF. You can watch the video on one part of the screen, like here it is in 2. You can put on one part the text, on one part the video, and you can have a look at it. And this is just devastating what you will learn from this. It's very, very interesting. And I can only advise people who watch that, if you have any doubts that this action that was taken in the beginning of 2020, with this worldwide action that was taken there, that was really a true attack of a quote-unquote virus. And I'm not even going into the details of that right now. It is not even necessary. But I want to refer to one other point, Robert, that is maybe interesting for our listeners to get remembered on. You remember, because you're almost my age, you remember this cowboy being president of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. You remember that when Ronald Reagan gave his oath that he turned to the Washington Monument, turning to the east and giving the people the sign that now, that was an internal sign for people who know that now the Roman Catholic Church has taken completely control of America.
Yes.
At a certain moment, I think it was in the speech that he did at the United Nations, that same president said, "Imagine there's a threat for all of humanity from outside. How far would not humanity all unite to go against that one threat?" And people, of course, always say, oh, he's speaking about alien attack and things like that. And then, listen, it's possible. In the world we live in, it's possible they do something like that in the future. So you're warned. But a virus is the same thing. It's a small, little attacking thing. They tell you that attacks you. They cannot prove that it exists, but that's on another. I don't want to start that discussion because then we are doing 10 hours just on that.
Of course.
But it's an enemy unseen. It is an enemy that attacked the whole world at more or less the same time. Yeah, because it was traveling by plane, and I don't know. I think they got a lot of their ideas from Stephen King. Have you ever read that book from Stephen King, The Stand?
I haven't, no.
You haven't? Oh,
no.
Robert, that's something that you should do in your spare time.
Okay, that's homework for me. Okay.
I just tried to look this up here fast. The Stand by Stephen King.
Yep.
This
Name I've heard
is
of it
in
before.
Wikipedia. Let me just see if I can get this here in English. Yeah. Is an epic post-apocalyptic dark fantasy novel written by American author Stephen King, and you never question what kind of spirit is he possessed by, and first published in 1978 by Doubleday. The plot centers on a deadly pandemic of weaponized influenza and its aftermath, in which some of the few surviving humans gather into fractions that are each led by a personification of either good or evil and seem fated to clash with each other. King started writing the story in February 1975, seeking to create an epic in the spirit of The Lord and of the Rings. The book was difficult for him to write, blah, 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 blah. There is two volumes out of this book, and it says this here. The 1990 Stand was reprinted as a complete and uncut edition. I read the first cut edition and I read the uncut edition. And there's a 6-part movie out of this that you can find somewhere if you look it up, probably on Netflix or whatever.
Okay.
And I don't think everyone is an hour long. I think they're even longer than an hour, and it's in 6 parts. The Stand. And when this quote-unquote virus hit in 2020, I couldn't help but directly think of The Stand.
Right.
It's a book, Robert, if you're not familiar with it, it takes some time, but it is absolutely worth reading.
Okay, I'll definitely give that a look.
And you will see the similarities between that.
Right. Okay.
So, half an hour in the reading, Robert, and we haven't gone first
Usual
for the
story.
first page. Well, you know what you signed up to when you signed in with me, right?
Oh, yes.
Any more comments, or shall I just continue?
Oh, I think you can continue, Jörg. That's fine.
Okay. So, to remember the last paragraph, we continue. Many hints have been dropped that there will be another, far more deadly pandemic, possibly an avian flu, which would also have a huge impact on food supplies, removing poultry and eggs from our diet, thereby destroying a major source of protein. It is highly likely that the COVID-19 pandemic was nothing more than the rebranding of the common cold and flu. So, it isn't a stretch of the imagination that future side effects of the COVID vaccines would be rebranded as a new pandemic. With the media being utterly controlled, and here you give me another stop word where I have to make a comment, of course.
Okay.
Robert says that the media is utterly controlled, and people say, well, that's not true, and the Jews control everything. The Jews control the media. Well, if you think the Jews control the media, I have a little advice for you. I did a video. I don't know the name anymore. Oh, yo. Let me just look an Hour of the Truth. I think it was an Hour of the Truth that I put it. There's a Donaldus Trumphius that is very interesting, but no, let's just see Hour of the Truth. I have to watch this playlist. It's in that playlist. It is based on a newsletter from Daryl Eberhard. Here, Hour of the Truth. It's simply amazing. It's an hour and a half long, and it's recorded on the 7th of February in 2016. So that's already 10 years ago almost. And it is based on a newsletter by Daryl Eberhard, who shows you that the Jews control only what the Romans give them to control to. Yeah? That Hollywood is for the people who look with one eye, controlled by the Jews, but people who have 2 eyes to see and 2 working brain cells and read the Bible, see that Rome controls it all. I'm going to give you the link during in the description box of this video. Then you can watch that for yourself if you want to. It's quite interesting too. But it's not the Jews that control everything. The media is controlled by two very important papers, and I'm going to give you the papers right here, right now. I'm doing this live, but I have had no conversation with Robert regarding this, what I'm doing right now before the video. I promise. I'm not swearing because we are Christians are not supposed to swear. You have two papal papers, I think they are encyclicals. Miranda Prorsus is one, and you can go directly to the Holy See page. Yeah, that is okay. That is in German, but you have that here in English. EN. This is the Holy See. This is the Vatican. Miranda Prorsus, and you also have next to Miranda Prorsus, you have Inter Mirifica. Inter Mirifica. Of course, the people who watch my Rules of Evil reading know exactly what it is. Here we go into Inter Mirifica. We go into the Holy See, and we go into English, please. This is German, but we are here in English. So, and we read chapter 1 on the teaching of the church. And by the way, this paper was published on the 4th of December 1963. Remind you, this is the end of Vatican II. Remember in the beginning I spoke of Vatican I, the council, church council where the Pope was made infallible. Pope Pius IX made infallible, so that the Jesuits actually being infallible. And here you have Miranda Prorsus, and this was, the date is not here, I think it's in the end then. I think this is from 1958. Just have a look here. Here, 1957, the Feast of Our Lady's Nativity. 1957, and then that was September the 8th, not the 11th. But I think it was for the world published 1958. That is the day that I always know. But you see here, it's 1957. Miranda Prorsus and Inter Mirifica. Now, why am I showing you this? Listen, chapter 1, on the teaching of the church. The Catholic Church, since it was founded by Christ, line number 1, our Lord to bear salvation to all men, and thus is obliged to preach the gospel, considers it one of its duties to announce the good news of salvation, also with the help of the media of social communication, and to instruct men in their proper use. Listen, I'm gonna make this a little, can't I make this a little bit bigger? Yes, Control Plus. Just a second. So it's easier for you guys to read. You can see that too, Robert?
Yes, I can, yeah.
It is therefore an inherent right of the Church to have as its disposal and to employ any of these media insofar as they are necessary or useful for the instruction of Christians and all its efforts for the welfare of souls. This sentence tells you, in other words, it is the birthright of the Church to own all media. And when you look behind the scenes of all media, you will always find a Knight of Malta, a Knight of Columbus, or some other Roman Catholic honorary, quote-unquote, honorary person there. Like, for example, the guy from Fox News, what's his name? Come on.
Hang on, not Anderson. It's not Anderson.
He's
Cooper,
so
is it?
famous. No, you have Ted Turner from CNN, for example.
Okay.
He's a Knight of Malta, as far as I know. That's Ted Turner from CNN, Cable News Network. But Fox News is also the guy who has Zanderford Publishing. Fox owner. What's his name? Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah. I was going to say I've written about him in the book, and I
I know. Sometimes you have the words on the tip of your tongue and it just comes out. Doesn't come out. Yeah. Rupert Murdoch is a bearer of the Gregorian order. So he's part of the Gregorian order, which is a Roman Catholic institution that gives these people their medals, their whatever. But it's also a sign of they are what is that? Rupert Murdoch, that they are obedient to the church. So let's just see if we have a few pictures here. Maybe that we see one of his, or we can just see Rupert Murdoch and Pope. Look, and then you have all of a sudden Rupert Murdoch and Pope here with Paul VI, I guess, probably very young. Is that a paper? Cardinal George Pell. Where is it here? There's probably a picture with those two. Rupert Murdoch. Oh, voila. Here he is with the Pope John Paul II, I guess that is.
Yeah. And his company publishes the NIV, don't they? And yes. Also the Satanic Bible, the Anton LaVey. It's
yes.
HarperCollins and Zondervan.
Yeah. And with Zondervan, he also publishes the King James, but the Blaney.
Yeah.
He publishes the Blaney. I even have it here on my desk. I have it right here in my hand right now. It's a wonderful Bible. It's in big letters, easy to read. It's a Bible that I always use for my study. It's the Blaney 1611 King James. We talked about that last time, what that is. Right. And that is from Zondervan Publishing, and that is the publishing company of Rupert Murdoch, who is a Knight of the Gregorian Order. That's how I should say that. Yeah, it's a Knight Order, yeah, of the Roman Catholic Church. So when Robert says here, with the media being utterly controlled, it is controlled, as you can see in Miranda Prausus, in Inter Mirifica. It is therefore an inherent right. Robert, I'm no native English speaker. But inherent right, isn't that the same as birthright?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Thank you very much. I'm not a native English speaker and I understand it. It is the birthright of the Roman Catholic Church to have as its disposal. What does it mean, as its disposal? Everything is there for their use, right?
Yeah.
That's what this means. And to employ means to put into work. Any of these media means all of these media. And so far as they are necessary or useful for the instruction of Christians, all its effort in the welfare of souls. This means that the Roman Catholic Church says they have the birthright to own and use all media at their expense. Now, this paper is written in 1963, and of course in 1963 we did not have any internet, we did not have any email, we did not have any social media like X and what's all these names, Facebook and all this stuff. We didn't have all that, but the Roman Catholic Church says that they are at the birthright to inherit all media. And of course, if new media being added, they have those of course too. And it is no secret, Robert, to anyone, even as our listeners, that the internet was quote-unquote invented by the Ministry of Defense, it was called in the time. Today they are more honest and call themselves the Ministry of War of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that was in the 1960s, 1970s. So we have this 1963, and they were already working on what we call today the internet. And without internet, I think nobody in the world today who has ever been influenced by the internet, used the internet, can afterwards imagine a life without it. It's like it's always been there. It is so empowering. And sometimes it's very helpful, eh, Robert? I mean, this is why we can do these wonderful readings, right? We have the Zoom basis where we do that on. And yeah. I mean, do you have anything to add what I said here, Robert?
Not really, Jörg. I think you've covered it pretty well. Yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that the Catholic Church always used Jews as a scapegoat, they'll always hide behind the Jews, whether it's banking or whether it's the media. Whenever there's any bad publicity, they can just point the finger at the Jews and let them take the blame, and they just hide in the background. And they've always done this throughout their history.
With banking, it's another very interesting point, because everybody says, yeah, the Rothschilds are the world's bankers, but they don't know that in the Jewish encyclopedia that you can find online, and I'm not doing the search now again. I did that, and the link is in the videos of Rulers of Evil, because Tapassausi wrote that in his book, Rulers of Evil, that the Rothschilds are but the guardians of the papal treasure.
Exactly.
The Jewish encyclopedia tells you that. And the Rothschilds are, for the biggest part, Freemasons. Who controls the Freemasons, Robert?
The Jesuits.
And if they are not Freemasons, they are members of papal knight orders, like Knights of Malta and things like that. And who controls the papal knight orders, Robert?
The same.
The same. So, there you go. It's all controlled by the Whore of Babylon. And who is the Whore of Babylon? Well, the people who don't know, stick to the end of the book, because that's in one of the later chapters that we see that. And I'm sorry, Robert asked me in the beginning, what are we going to do? Are we just reading the introduction, or are we going to continue afterwards? I said, well, let's see how far the Spirit takes us. I think he maybe lets us finish the first page today.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
But I think the information so far given is very important and interesting, and just adds value to your book, don't you think, Robert?
Oh, I do. I definitely agree. It's we're not under any time constraints here, so it just takes as long as it takes. So yeah, no problem here at all.
Right. It takes as long as it takes. It says here the book has 203 pages. Maybe it takes some 200 hours to go through the book, and I would love every second of it, as I do right now.
Yeah.
With the media being utterly controlled, there is no need for a real virus. The mere threat of one, combined with behavioral manipulation, think of what the Jesuit general said there in the video, through targeted propaganda is enough. Inaccurate mass testing with a high false positive rate, together with any death occurring within 28 days of a positive test being recorded as quote-unquote due to the virus, let's just switch to the picture of the book here again, means that the appearance of a deadly pandemic can be created out of nothing. Like they create money out of nothing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Dire Straits sang money for nothing, and I say money out of nothing. This model worked perfectly in 2020, and there's no reason why it won't work again. Ever since the Second World War ended, people have speculated as to when the next one will be. I firmly believe that World War III has already started, but that this time the enemy is our own governments, which are working together in lockstep to break down society through a controlled demolition of the lifetime and freedoms we have come to take for granted. Again, allow me a little comment.
Okay.
Robert says, I firmly believe that World War III has already started. I could not agree more, because there never was signed a peace treaty for the Second World War. Up to today, 2026, the world has not a peace treaty after the Second World War. The First World War, there was a peace treaty, so-called, that was made up in Versailles. You know, that French castle?
Yes.
Outside of Paris. But the leader of the Entente, and the Entente, that is the name given to the Allies in the First World War, the leader of these Allies was a Frenchman called General Marshal Foch. And he said, and you can look that up on Wikipedia, maybe for the fun, we just do this right now. Yeah, no, it's one thing telling the people something, it's another thing to do it right away.
Okay.
Okay, Marshal Foch, I don't know his name anymore. And let's just go to, Foch, and go to Wikipedia, because I know it's in there. This is in German, so we go into English, and then we go into looking up, because I don't want to go through all the document. I'm going to search. We are looking for the word truth. No. Sorry. It has to be written like this. Before the armistice and after the armistice of Villa Giusti, Foch controlled all the operations against Germany, including a planned invasion from Italy into Bavaria. Foch accepted the German cessation of hostilities in November from the German delegate Matthias Erzberger, who, by the way, was a Jesuit, and I spoke about him abundantly during the book Behind the Dictators from Herbert Lehman, Herbert Lehman, I think is his name. He was a Jesuit. He was propaganda minister during the First World War. He wrote a book about his experiences during the war. That is a 500-600 page, and he was a member of the secret treaty negotiations in 1915 of the London Treaty during the World War. Yeah, so there's a lot to be found on Erzberger, who was a Jesuit and who was afterwards killed, by the way. I think he was killed in 1921, Jesuit way. So Foch accepted the German cessation of hostilities in November from the German delegate Matthias Erzberger at 5 a.m. local time. However, he refused to accede to the German negotiators' immediate request to declare a ceasefire or truce, so that there would be no more useless waste of life by not declaring a truce between the signing of the documents for the armistice at 5:45 and its entry into the force at the 11th hour on the 11th day on the 11th month, 11. Interesting, the numbers were again here. This today where in Germany Carnival starts, this quote-unquote fifth season where everybody dresses up into something, I don't know. About 11,000 additional men, the force 11, on both sides were needlessly wounded or killed due to Foch, far more than usual, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't find this in the English one. So let's go into the German one, because I know it is in the German one. I have to go back to the German page. So then it is Control F, Waffenstillstand. Okay, 1 of 6. Again. Oh, did they take that out? The point that I want to make, there's a quote, and probably they changed this in Wikipedia because I spoke abundantly about this in my video, so sometimes they just change the information. General Marshal Foch was asked how he feels about signing this peace treaty 1919 in Versailles. And he said, quote, this is not a peace treaty that we signed. This is a 20-year truce, which the German word is Waffenstillstand, meaning ceasing of shooting, resting of arms, whatever you want to call this. I don't know why I don't find this here now. It was in there. They must have changed it. It was a real quote that was in there, and that was in Wikipedia. So maybe it's on somewhere else, but I have a link somewhere of that somewhere else. He said there is no end of the war. It is a truce, the end of the First World War. That was in 1919 in Versailles. When did it start the Second World War, Robert?
The second, 1939.
1939. That's 20 years from 1919, right?
Yeah.
We just had this general of the Society of Jesus had told us that there will be another pandemic. And here we have the highest officer of the Allies against Germany who told us that there will be another war. I mean, quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
And after the Second World War, there is no peace treaty up to today. And there can't be a peace treaty because Germany is not a sovereign country. And when you are not sovereign, you cannot sign a peace treaty. Actually, Germany still is an enemy state in the annals of the United Nations, still today. And you can look that up for yourself. I'm very disappointed why I didn't find that Ferdinand Foch quote. But we can look that up. Ferdinand Foch quote. I think when you look that up, you will find that. Here. It's with KI, with AI, it's artificial intelligence. Marshal Foch, French commander of the Allied armies in WW1, is famous for several quotes, most notably this prophetic warning after the Treaty of Versailles. Quote, "This is not a peace. It is an armistice for 20 years." Or maybe I should have looked as armistice in the English instead of truce. Well, let's just see. Oh, hey, I'm just making this up as I'm going along here. I mean, what can I do? I didn't test run this. Armistice. There it is. Once, twice. Here you see. On November 11th, 1918, Foch accepted the German request for an armistice. Foch advocated peace terms that would make Germany unable to pose a threat to France ever again. He considered the Treaty of Versailles too lenient on Germany. Winston Churchill attributed this famous but apocryphal quote about the peace treaty of Versailles to Foch. "This is not peace. It's an armistice for 20 years. Indeed, the next war broke out 20 years later. Told you! Okay, I was looking up truce instead of armistice. Sorry.
Okay.
What do you think, Robert? Do you have any thoughts on this interesting development?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I've heard you talk about this sort of thing before and everything, but yeah, I mean, it's so clear that they knew what was going on. They knew what was going to happen, that this wasn't the end of the war and it was going to start again. They just put it out there, don't they, for everyone to see, but most people don't pay attention.
And they spoke of the time after the Second World War until the beginning of the 1990s as the quote-unquote Cold War.
Yeah.
So, this means that we are just, for the moment, in my humble opinion, transferring from the Cold War to a lukewarm war until we come into a hot war.
Yeah.
But it's still the same war.
That's it.
And it is, of course, it has the signs of the Jesuits written all over, because think about this, Robert. The First World War broke out in the summer of 1914. The Second World War ended in May 1945. That's about 30 years.
Okay.
Do you have a remembrance of a 30-year war before?
I do. That certainly sounds familiar. I can't recall it just at the moment.
1618 to 1648. The 30-year war that killed 12 million Germans. And that was more than half of the population in the time. And that was a crusade. That was a spiritual war. That was a religious war. And First World War was a religious war, was a crusade, and the Second World War was a crusade, and Korea was a crusade, and Vietnam was a crusade, and to quote George W. Bush, the war against terror is a crusade.
Yeah.
Bush said that himself, and you can look that quote up for yourself. We are still in a crusade, in a holy war. And this leans a little bit to what Robert wanted to talk about. If we ever reach the point in the book to read and come to that, he was speaking about the modern conflict that we have of Russia and Ukraine, and actually the world against Russia and the Russia against Ukraine, and what's everything involved in that. And he was speaking about this pipeline there. I think we get to that maybe in the next session that we are here, because I think I just finished with completing the very first, second sentence here, paragraph here. Ever since the Second World War ended, which we just established, it actually didn't end, and it actually didn't start. It was just the hot phase of World War I once again. Ever since the Second World War ended, quote-unquote ended, people have speculated as to when the next one will be. This is Robert talking in this book, firmly believe that World War III has already started, and I think he's even more convinced now, but that this time the enemy is our own governments, which are working together in lockstep to break down society through a controlled demolition of the lifestyle and freedoms we have come to take for granted. And I tell you, he says, this time the enemy is our government. No, the government always was our enemy, and especially in the United States of America, when you read and understand Rulers of Evil. And when you see that all governments are Jesuit controlled since hundreds of years. Yes, but here it is for once on the lips, it is spoken out. The enemy is the enemy within. Why do you think that, for example, the American president, I know much more about American presidents than I know about German Bundeskanzlers. Why do American presidents always say, I am defending the Constitution of the United States of America against every enemy, intern or extern? The enemy from within. Yeah? They swear to protect their country from the enemy from within. And they are the enemy within. But that is what the people don't see. That's why they go to the voting booths every 4 years. The end game is to bring about a new world order from the havoc they are creating, and then, in their minds, build back better. Order out of chaos, as the motto of Freemasons proudly declares. Freemasons were founded by the Jesuits, who wrote between 1711 and 1720 all 25 grades of Scottish Freemasonry, and the later ones they added later on. And for that, I advise you to go to Eric John Phelps's research. I don't advise you to read Eric John Phelps. I'm not going into that right now. And it's not about being against the person, but as soon as he opens his mouth and he speaks of white supremacy, you know that he is not the Christian that he says that he is. Anyway, Robert, we reached about an hour. I told you 9:45 about, and that's the time we're having. But time flies when we do these sessions, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, it does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let's finish here and continue next week with the introduction of the book. I hope that we got a little bit interest from our viewers and that they are keen on knowing how it's going to be developed further on. For anybody who has those questions, I can advise just to spend this few euros or pounds, quid, dollars, whatever, to buy the Kindle book for 5, 6, whatever quid. It's really not much. Or buy even the printed book, because, you know, when you don't have access to the internet anymore, what good are all your Kindle books in the Amazon store? By the way, Amazon, did you ever think about it? A Mason? Just
Yeah.
switch the Z and the S. Okay, I'm going to leave the final words of this wonderful reading today to Robert. Please, brother.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I haven't got too much to add, because the initial thought was that we were going to finish the introduction today, and obviously things haven't worked out that way, which they never really do. So so that's not really a problem at all. But yeah, I just say we're living under a time of huge deceptions at the moment. So don't pay any attention to the mainstream media. Don't follow the things that are being said on there. It's just all lies. So, you know, the only thing we can really trust is the Bible for all your guidance. And we're going to get into this more in the near future. But this book is really all about trying to get back to true doctrine and exposing the many deceptions that have entered into the church, which are leading people astray. And you need to have a firm foundation. That's what it's all about. And you need to be founded in the truth. So, you know, hopefully this book will help people to get back to the truth and to expose a lot of the false doctrines that have entered into the church. So, yes, until the next time, I suppose, I haven't got much more to add.